Hi, you see, what might it mean for God to become the center of your reality? Because you recognize that God is the center of reality. What might it mean to put God in that place in your mind, not just as a kind of charming notion that you sort of hold with you like God is always with me, but rather actually restructure your epistemology based on the knowledge that God is the center of reality. Starting with the fact that once you believe that that is true, once you know that that is true, the first thing you then know is that you have no idea what that really means, other than Jesus Christ and the gospel story and the good news. I mean, that is your base, because you actually realize, once you know that God exists, which you can know outside the Christian story, you can just know through reason God exists. You can know through reason God exists. You don't need to know through reason God exists, because reason often trips people up because it can get so convoluted in its philosophical puzzles. You can also just know through experience, by asking to receive it and being passive towards it as it comes towards you and then responding to it. You can know that way, but you can also know through reason. So what might it mean then, since you can know for a reason that God exists and that the correct concept of God is the monotheistic classic God of classical theism, the very strange concept of essence as existence, totally perfect, to change your mind such that your epistemology, that your background assumptions of what reality is that it just rewires your head. It rewires your head as a meme that takes over and then restructures your conceptual apparatus to have better thermodynamic efficiency, essentially, by having better information flows, because the truth is actually thermodynamically better for your brain than falsehood. And love is the best possible thing to rewire your brain. And God is love. And God wants to rewire your brain to truth through the logos, through the process of you coming to understand the situation. God is the center of your reality, because he is the center of reality itself. People actually know what they're talking about when they talk about the divine, in the sense that the serious people of any religion who kind of get it, they see how atheism is not just like wrong in the sense of like the argument's wrong. It's like it's really wrong just structurally. It's just not how reality is. It's just not how reality is. You know, are those people singing Hare Krishna in the streets for hours and hours and hours and hours, are they just nuts? That is how a secularist must see it, that they're just nuts. They're not nuts. They're actually just perceiving reality in a deeper way. If you realize that the whole thing is about consciousness and information processing of a certain kind and modeling truth of a certain kind, the boundaries open up. But if you think that it's all just you or your own will to power or something like that, you're liable to ultimately go crazy like Nietzsche. Nietzsche's philosophy is his story, man. He ends up mad. Because you can't take it. Being can't take it. Because it's the opposite of the will to power. It's the will to obey that saves mankind. Nietzsche was like a genius because he was 100% wrong. But he was so wrong, he had so much truth. It's the opposite of the will to power. It's the opposite of the Übermensch. God is the opposite of the Übermensch, and that's how he's his own Übermensch. That's how Christ is the Übermensch, by not being the Übermensch, by being the obedient servant to God. Because the thing outside you and the thing behind you and the thing inside you, what is not you, is smarter, wiser, infinitely intelligent more than you. You see, if you just realize that it's you and the rest of the reality coming together to form you at that moment, you start to realize that you're really determined over almost any time scale other than the immediate time scale. Your freedom really consists in the right now, because over longer time scales, other forces are at work shaping your destiny. Because you think it's you, but you only can know that it's actually just in the moment of freedom, because the system is so much bigger than you and it's really kind of sculpting you. And that's God, that's the Logos, that's what's behind you. But you can resist it or you can go with it, but it's real. It's not about, I'm going to choose faith over reality. It's about, I believe in reality, therefore I have faith. You see, that's why the Spirit frees itself, because it actually frees itself from its own cognitive traps. You know, because God is perfect, and you can know this, and you can kind of know the kind of being you are, and the fact that your attachment to the intellect, or your participation in the intellect, means that there are an infinite number of conscious states in the future that are potentializable by some kind of actuality mechanism that include your beingness in some radically wonderful way. But how do you get there? You have to start to recognize that that's the truth and not death. If Mario was really, really, really afraid of death, he would never be able to jump over the first pipe. He would be frozen at, when he saw the turtle. Just frozen. I can't do it. What am I supposed to do? I'm supposed to go save the princess and risk myself and go. What? Yes, that's it. You're not afraid of death. It's a video game, and it's much more like that. All the science points to it. Theology points to it. So the only way to deal with it is to put God at the center of your reality. And how do you know what that means? God wants to tell you what that means. And that means Jesus Christ is the revelation of what it means to put God at the center of your reality. That's the understanding to participate in. And there's so much mystery in the world, even about ethical problems, that the best way to deal with them is kind of avoid them for now, and just let God in, and then all will be revealed to you, and not try to control it or grasp it. Put God at the center of your reality, which means live in the moment. Realize you're mostly determined, but the more you realize that you're mostly determined, the more you can take freedom in the moment. You see, because then you'll let the system work for you. But you really have to believe the system is good and trying to help you, and trying to increase your capacity for love, because that's what's real. And do not reify the forms as being the things that are really real. The thing that's really real is consciousness, which understands itself through the concept of material organization, which helps it organize space and maneuver through it. It's consciousness. And you have to put God at the center of your reality, conceptually and then constantly. And then your old self doesn't want to do that, because that's why let that guy invade my head and he takes over and I think about him all the time. Shouldn't I think about me all the time and what I'm going to get and how I'm going to reproduce and how I'm going to get food and how, you know what I mean? We have to conquer our material nature through God, through the understanding of God, which just destroys the evolutionary selfish gene ego that has been created. That's the thing about overcoming materiality, at the same time loving it, because that's how you participate with the will in an exciting way. And there's no other way around it. That's what, there was maybe a different kind of existence once in the video game, but we've chosen to fall into the material organization of the world, fall into ignorance, and material evolves itself from the simplest state to the release of the Spirit in consciousness through Christ. Put God at the center of your reality, and Yes, you can know what that is in other traditions, but God has told us it's Jesus Christ at its core. As a person. As a person. Put God at the center of your reality, which is where He is and has always been all along. You see.